This is BS with Joe. And we talked a little bit about the riots that's been going on, the No Kings riot. One little thing I forgot to talk about with that last one is Trump's kind of thanked them for establishing that our country doesn't have a monarchy and won't have a monarchy.
They actually, you're talking about that tweet, that post?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been proven that was fake.
I know.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he didn't actually
do it.
He should have.
Oh, he should have. But the thing is like it's like the far left. I'm going to call them what it is. It's Tim Pool calls them a cult. I call them wannabe socialists because they want things taken care of for them. They want all this other stuff. They don't want to work. They want to get free health care.
I'm not sure that the actual left knows what they really want because there's so many different aspects of the left. I mean, you've got the business owners, you've got the welfare recipients, you've got illegal aliens, and a lot of the wealthy left people are manipulating the other parts of the left to use them as pawns.
Oh, absolutely. So instead of talking the riots, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because I know you sent me a video, and I think I watched it before you sent it to me.
Okay.
It's talking about class systems and the Democratic Party and how they're elitists.
Well, the one I sent you was actually talking about both parties and how both parties have played the political game, and in playing that political game, because they want to look tough on immigration, but at the same time they don't want to look too tough on immigration because there was I can't remember the guy's name. There was a governor in California in the 90s who was a Republican who was very tough on immigration. And he stopped illegal immigrants from getting any health care benefits. Well, after he did that, it was great. You know, the people of the state were all for it, and it was voted in. It was Prop 187. It was voted in at like 60% statewide. Great numbers. Okay. The problem is the people that were on the left that were the illegal aliens didn't like the idea, and they took over basically, and the backlash of that bill of Prop 187, which was overturned, is the reason that California is no longer a red state.
Oh, absolutely. Well, part of the reason why California is not a red state is because the illegal immigrants.
Right.
It changes their census, so then there's more seats of representatives in there.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, actual Americans no longer really have a representative or representation in the state.
Right. So this governor basically it was political suicide for him. But at the same time, when he did it, he got all kinds of props for it, you know, and everybody was like, "This is great," you know. But the backlash, the fallout, is what killed him. So that's why, like Clinton was, you know, he kind of on immigration, he just really didn't want to take a side, and that's the reason. Barack Obama, okay. So supposedly he had 3 million deportations during his time.
But a lot of them were turned around at the border.
Exactly. It's an inflated number. At the same time, so he wants to look tough on immigration, okay, and then he also was the creator of DACA, which allowed children of illegal aliens to have benefits.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, so let's be socialists. Let's give everybody everything. Guess what? If you have no kids and you're a single individual, you're sharing your apartment with someone. And it's not going to be one person. It's going to probably be 6 individuals.
Yeah.
And on that floor, you're going to share a large bathroom that you're all responsible for cleaning, and you're all responsible for cooking and all this other stuff.
Right.
And in your one room, it's not just going to be your bed.
Yeah.
you're going to be sharing it with 2 or 3 other individuals. That's what happens in China. That was what was going on in Russia
Yeah.
during the communism period.
Yeah.
And so, maybe it would be great because then people would be wanting to try to get families and get married and have kids because then they have a little bit of privacy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the American birth rate is really down, but
Yeah, but at the same time,
that has to do more with the economy.
yeah, people who want to be given things by the state or the government does not understand the cost
They don't.
that's coming with that.
Right. That's one of the things that I really like about what Trump's doing as far as the food stamps issue and all that stuff. Yeah, get a job, show you have some income, will help you. It's like back in the Bible. Teach a man to fish.
Yeah, he'll be able to feed himself the rest of his life.
Right.
And that's the thing is like I wish we could go back to like government cheese commodities given to the individuals who are needy
Yeah.
instead of money.
40 acres and a mule, Jack.
Yeah. Because like back in the day, welfare recipients, they didn't get food stamps, they didn't get welfare checks, they didn't get WIC, they didn't get any of that.
Right.
They would go to a area
Yeah.
and they would be given government products that
Right.
was made by all these other makers like Kraft and all these other
Right.
individuals, and they would have to make so much of it and give it to the government to be given to people. The government paid for it,
Right.
but it went to people
Yeah,
who
and
couldn't afford to feed themselves.
And it got called government cheese.
Yeah, that's where government cheese came from.
Basically, the soup kitchens.
Yeah.
And that was what kept America fed in the 1930s,
Oh yeah.
in the Great
The
Depression.
Great Depression.
Yeah.
Sorry about clicking that pen.
That-
I know it probably bothers everybody.
That and green stamps.
Yep, green stamps. And then that went to food stamps,
Right.
and then food stamps were traded like currency,
Still are.
still are with
It's illegal.
drug dealers and
Yeah.
things like that, and it still is. And now with the EBT cards, people are buying soda and ice cream and stuff like that with it,
Yeah.
and the government's not
The only things you are not allowed to buy on EBT
is prepared foods.
is prepared foods. So, like, if you go out into Publix, you can't. You can buy a hoagie, but you can't get the chicken fingers.
No, but you could buy the sliced meats, the sliced cheeses,
Sure.
the hoagie.
Yeah.
Buy the condiments, and you can make your own sandwich.
But that rotisserie chicken you can't have.
Nope. And
Which that doesn't really make that much sense to me. I mean, I understand in the aspect of going to McDonald's. Okay, no EBT. But if you're in a grocery store, what's the difference between a rotisserie chicken and a chicken out of, okay,
out of the freezer case.
so it's cooked.
Yeah. Well, that goes with the whole prepared tax because when you buy food that's prepared from the supermarkets, you pay a tax.
Oh,
If
okay.
it's not prepared, you don't pay a tax.
That's what it is. Okay.
All
right.
Yeah. Now, my whole thing is like I don't care about the prepared, unprepared food. It's the healthy foods. I don't want somebody who's.
There is no current restriction on healthy foods.
They need to. Like it should be fruits and vegetables, meats, dairy. As long as it's not like cookies, chocolate, ice cream, soda pop,
Frozen pizzas,
frozen pizzas.
chicken wings.
Chicken wing. Yeah, buy because your money will go a lot further.
Yeah.
You would be a lot healthier.
Actually, it is a lot more expensive to eat healthy.
Well, it would be. You're right,
Yeah.
but it would be health. It would be more expensive to eat healthy, but the health benefits would be much better.
True.
Plus, you could eat healthy on a budget. There's hacks on doing that. Like instead of buying chicken breast, buy a whole fryer
Yeah.
and butcher it yourself.
Or thighs.
or thighs.
Thighs are usually cheap.
Yeah, thighs. And then there's
Or instead of buying breast, buy the tenderloins.
yeah, or pork.
Yeah.
Um,
Pork tenderloin is usually pretty cheap.
yeah, you could even buy pork chops pretty cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. Some.
Well, inflation's gone up.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's ways of getting around purchasing things that there's ways that off those foods, off the EBT, I know there's enough on there to at least sustain you.
Okay,
You
so
may not get fat, but you can eat healthy and be sustained.
so look, I'm just gonna play devil's advocate here.
Mhm.
In order to do this, okay,
Mhm.
you would then have to educate people on how to shop
And how to
to
cook.
cook, and what is healthy foods and what's not healthy foods. Where does the money come for that?
Well, the problem with that is it's parenting.
It is.
Our country has let's go back.
I don't remember there being a nutrition class available in high school.
No, but normally we learn nutrition from our parents,
Yeah.
and
So bad habits get handed down.
bad habits do get handed down, and some of the bad habits were also a form of necessity.
Yeah.
Because you look at 18th century cooking, a lot of it was using beef suet and other,
Which isn't unhealthy.
which isn't unhealthy, but and I think where things came unhealthy was in the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Well, yeah. What happened is somebody decided that fat was bad.
And grains and cereals, which we normally gave to livestock,
Right.
was healthy.
Right.
And
It's like even Crisco, which Crisco used to be fully lard.
now it's all vegetable
Now it's
oil.
vegetable stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't think you can buy lard anymore.
you can. It's not. And it's expensive. And
It used to be cheap as dirt.
it used to be cheap as dirt because it was a byproduct.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is it was a way for certain corporations to make more money.
Well, like in the 1960s when margarine was invented, there was a huge campaign saying that margarine is healthier than butter, which is absolutely not true.
Right.
It's the opposite.
Right.
But people to this day still swear that.
Well, it's because the science wasn't quite there yet because they were looking at the fat content.
Oh no, they knew. They knew.
Yeah.
They were intentionally lying.
It's all about corporate making more money.
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper to make seed oils
Right.
than it was probably to process beef tallow.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you got to butcher the cow,
Well, and that's
and
the
the
thing.
tallow's going to be there.
Yeah. You could.
You know, I mean,
You can even make your own tallow.
back in the 30s and 40s, you could walk into a butcher and buy beef knuckles and bones to take home and make your own stock.
Mm-hmm. They would give them to you practically.
Yeah, pennies.
They would just go get it.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you went and got it, it was
And
yours.
chicken carcasses, you know, when they take and do the eight piece chicken and cut the breasts off, and then you got that carcass, they saved those and sold them to people.
Well, and that's because
The carcass is a good soup base.
oh yeah, you can make a great stock out of it.
Absolutely.
And bone broths and other
And people
things.
used to do that kind of thing. And I'll tell you what, nowadays, you tell somebody to use a beef broth or a beef stock, and they're using the garbage that's on the shelf in the store that's 90% sodium. It's
Mhm.
a good stock doesn't have any salt in it.
Mm-hmm. You're right. But that's because we've all gotten so accustomed to quick and easy and making things easier on us. Because
Right.
back in the day, we had to make all that stuff to make things.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're kind of going on a tangent on health.
We are.
And we were supposed to talk about
What was
riots.
the topic on this one?
Well, it was.
Well, originally it was going to be Utah.
Yeah, it was going to be Utah. but
Yeah.
we wound up talking about we'll save that for another
I
segment.
think we talked about a lot of different things in that.
We did. We talked about just how our government, the corporations, have paid our government off to
Well,
use us as cash cows.
they have.
Yeah.
And insurance industry is one of the worst in that.
Oh yeah. Well, not only that, but now voters. And how we kind of got into this is we're bringing in all these illegal immigrants to inflate the census, so we could get more seats so the left and the right could battle each other, the Republicans and Democrats. But they're all part of the same filthy bird because they both steal the money from us.
Right.
And we'll get into that.
And then the left is all right. So the left is saying that we're not going to have people to pick our strawberries.
Right.
Okay. Well, what's going to happen is the person that is hiring people to pick the strawberries is going to have to pay a living wage.
Either that.
I'm going to end up paying more for a strawberry,
Mm-hmm.
but I know why,
Yeah, we're all going to have to pay more for these strawberries.
and I'm good with that.
And I'm good for that. As long as an American's doing it and they're getting a living wage.
Right.
Because American won't do it for less than minimum
No.
wage.
And what we're talking about here is slavery.
Absolutely. I know we kind of ran along, but let's use that for our next segue to our next topic.
Okay.
So we could talk about that because I want to get into some details on that and some theories.
Sure.
But with that, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and we're off to the next video.
All right. One of these days we'll have the laptop sitting here. And